I ask all of you, what do you want? What do you really want, individually, as a woman? What do you really want? And then work out what's stopping you from getting it. I'm a terrible list maker. I list everything I do. It takes it out of my head and makes sure that I get it done by the end of the day, the end of the week, or the end of the month, depending on what I set myself to do. I will even give lists to my husband. He hates it, but he does it because I remind him. And when you've got a life partner with you, they learn your little idiosyncrasies and what keeps you going. And what keeps me going is my list. So what do you want? To write it down and then say, what's stopping me from getting it? That has helped me a lot in getting to where I am today. And I'm not sure if I'm all the way there yet. Sometimes I don't even know where I'm going. But for the most part, I have a fair idea about what I'd like to do. You can change the dynamics of any situation you're in. If you think that there's no one out there who's gone through the road that you've gone, or is experiencing something that you're experiencing right now, you are wrong. Somebody has not only walked through that way, they have overcome it. And if you're a female, if you're a woman, and you think that there's no one around, think again. All you have to do is reach out. So change your dynamics. And I always use this example when I was a young manager moving up through the ranks and struggling to find my place because there were a lot more men around you than women. You can change the dynamics by asking what else people are doing in your situation. And when I was in the airline, there were a few of us young female managers. One of them is in the room with us today. And we worked out that the men were doing things differently. They could stop after work at a bar or have a basin of grog downstairs, wherever they could find a space. Because they didn't have to rush home to look after small kids, to get homework going, to let the house girl or the nanny go. Because they didn't have to, but the women did. So we made a little change in our dynamics by getting together every now and then to have either lunch together, or afternoon tea, or that glass of wine or dinner. And the men got to hear about it in the organization we were working with and said, can we join? And we said, no, we're gossiping like you do. We want to do what you do. You gossip about, the thing that you're going to do at work next week, and you all find out what each other's going to do, and then when you're all sitting in the meeting, you all know what each other's going to do. But we don't do that as women. But you can, because you need to take the time out like the men do. Go and stop and have a basin of grog. Just organize your stuff at home. Just be a little bit more prepared. So change the dynamics, and you can change your situation. A rising tide lifts all boats. This is an old one that I think is often forgotten. You can start out by supporting one another. There's nothing like going through or struggling through something that you're going through at work and not telling people that you're struggling with it. Yeah, we go home and whinge to our partner or our husband, our sister or our mother, but we're not reaching out to our peers around us. And that's probably something that you should do a little bit more often. Ask for help. There's nothing shameful about what you're doing or what you're going through, what you're thinking. I'm struggling. You'll be surprised what somebody will say, well, I've been through that. You know what you should do? So don't struggle on your own. Talk about it. Ask for advice. Ask for help. Take the time after work to have that coffee with that friend or your acquaintance at work and say, hey, we should catch up for coffee. And you never do. And then 3 years pass, and you find out that that lady is sick and you didn't have time to say, hey, I didn't know you were sick. Take the time to have a coffee or that glass of wine. Or like Deborah and I do, have a glass of bubbles. Work on getting your family or your partner or whoever you live your home life with to trust that what you're doing is part of your own growth. That trust, that building of that trust is really, really important. Getting his or her trust and making sure that your family understand that you need a little bit of time out every now and then. What does the time out look like? Only you know. And depending on what it is that you do, whether it's your group, your church group that you go to, your women's organization that you're part of, whatever it is, Get them to understand that by letting you go, they are helping you get your growth. Because we all need that little bit of freedom, that little bit of growth. The other thing is, when you see a young lady that needs a little bit of help, don't ask sometimes. Just say, hey, are you doing all right? Can I take you along with me? Would you like to join me for coffee or a glass of wine? We're going for lunch. Don't just stay within your own group. You don't learn about other people's issues then. You don't learn what else is going on in the world. And then you get out of your bubble. Take your head out of that phone. Take your head out of Facebook. It is not where the rest of the world lives. So women can lift one another up, but we tend to find it easier to pull each other down. Don't do that. Don't do that, because you know what it feels like when somebody lifts you up and says, it's fine, you'll be fine, come and have a coffee with me, we'll talk about it. Do it for somebody else, even a total stranger. She might be needing that little bit of lift from somebody older or somebody more experienced or somebody who knows the way a little better. I hate to admit it, but no one did it for the likes of us when we were young managers. So we leaned on one another. And it was fine. We took each other on the journey. We cried on each other's shoulders. We laughed with one another. And if we had too much to drink and you needed to throw up in the toilet bowl, somebody was there to hold your hair up so you could get all over your hair. But that's what sisters do. And when you do that, you have a closer bond with those people because they've seen you at your worst and they've seen you at your best. And some of my best friends go back 40 years or more because we've been through all these things together. Look for these people.